Imagine loving someone so deeply that your entire world seems to orbit around them, and then one day, that world suddenly collapses. Imagine building an empire, traveling the globe, touching the edge of space, only to face a moment so devastating that no success, no achievement, no amount of fame can shield you from its pain. This is the heartbreaking reality Richard Branson is living today. Behind the billionaire adventures, behind the fearless public persona, there was one person who grounded him, strengthened him, and loved him with unwavering loyalty. And now that person is gone. Richard Branson has shared the most devastating news of his life. His wife, Joan Templeman, the woman he loved for over 50 years, has passed away at the age of 80. The world knows him as a fearless innovator, a rule breaker, a man who built the Virgin Empire from nothing. But today, he is simply a grieving husband shattered by the loss of the woman who shaped his life in ways his business achievements never could. In a deeply emotional message, Branson wrote that he is heartbroken. His words poured out raw pain. Joan was not just his wife. She was his best friend, his rock, the mother and grandmother his family adored, and the quiet force that held his world together. For half a century, her presence stood at the center of his life, not in the public spotlight, but in the quiet moments that mattered most. Their love story didn't start on a private island or in some glamorous world of billionaires. It began in one of the most ordinary places imaginable, a small bric-a-brac shop in West London, where Joan worked. Branson has often said that he fell for her the moment he walked in. She had a gentleness, a warmth, a sense of calm that disarmed him instantly. While Richard was already beginning to rise in the business world, Joan came from a simple and modest background in Glasgow. Maybe that contrast is what made her so captivating. She wasn't impressed by fame or wealth. She was grounded, sincere, and real. Everything Richard didn't know he needed at the time. From that first meeting in 1976, their connection only grew stronger. But their journey wasn't a fairy tale without heartbreak. Their first daughter, Claire Sarah, died just a few days after birth, a tragedy that could have torn a couple apart. But instead, it bonded them even deeper. Joan became the emotional anchor of the family, the strength Richard leaned on when life hit hardest. Through every triumph and every setback, she stood beside him quietly, never chasing attention or fame. After more than a decade of love, they married in 1989 on Necker Island, the very same island Richard had once purchased partly to impress her. It was a wedding that reflected who they were as a couple, intimate, meaningful, completely theirs. Over the years, they welcomed children and later grandchildren. And while Richard's public life grew bigger and louder, Joan chose to remain private, almost invisible to the media. She didn't want headlines. She wanted her family. To the world, Branson was the daredevil entrepreneur, the man who flew around the world in hot air balloons, who launched airlines and space companies, who turned every wild dream into reality. But behind all of that adventure stood Joan, the quiet supporter who made everything possible. She steadied him. She grounded him. She gave him the sense of home he otherwise might never have found. Friends and family often say that Joan didn't just support Richard, she shaped him. Her calm perspective kept him balanced. Her kindness influenced the way he led his companies. Her loyalty guided the way he treated the people around him. She was the silent architect of his personal life, the one person who knew him beyond the spotlight, beyond the fame, beyond the Virgin brand. And now, that presence is gone. The loss is immeasurable. Richard's tribute to Joan has moved millions. His words weren't polished or corporate. They were raw, trembling, filled with the grief of a man who has lost the center of his universe. He described her as his guiding light, his world, the woman who made him who he is. It's rare to see a man known for boldness and fearlessness speak with such vulnerability, and yet his grief reminds us of a painful truth. Love, loss, and heartbreak spare no one, not even billionaires. As tributes pour in from around the world, people are remembering Joan not for her wealth, not for her marriage to a global icon, but for the quiet dignity with which she lived her life. She never wanted fame. She wanted love, family, and a peaceful existence. And that is exactly the life she built. Richard Branson now faces a future without the woman who shaped his past. A home that suddenly feels emptier. A heart carrying the weight of memories. and a life forever changed. Behind every successful person is a story the world never sees, a private universe of love, strength, and sacrifice. Joan Templeman was that universe for Richard Branson, and though she is no longer here, her love, her legacy, and her impact will echo through every corner of his life, for as long as he lives.